Easter, and thank you for joining us for A Course in Miracles, Easter, 3 Steps Forgiveness. So who has some experience with the Course? Just raise your hand if you like. And for me, it's okay to unmute if you want to say something. All right, good. And so we're going to start off with just 3 ohms, just to center ourselves, get comfortable, and loosen up a little bit. So closing the eyes recommended. It's okay if you'd like to keep them open, but if you can, close the eyes and connect with the breath and just observe the breathing for a moment. And we'll take a deep inhale for 1 ohm and then followed by 2 more. Oh. Oh. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And opening the eyes, coming back into the room, to whatever room you're in. So I'd like to, get a little bit of sense of someone who's worked with the Course or studied it. If you have any thoughts about it you'd like to share with us, just to get a sense of where we all are. I've been personally working with the Course for about 42 years now. I'm still in the beginning stages of it. I'm still a beginner. And when I pick it up, it's like I've never picked it up before. It just keeps getting deeper and deeper, expanding and more all the time. So I don't know that there's any end to this particular well, but we keep digging and we keep finding gems and a lot of beautiful realizations and understandings. At least I do in my experience of it, and I know a lot of other people do too, as well. So, but just, is there anyone that would like to share a little bit of their experience who has actually, worked with it or read it or in any way interacted with the Course? You want to do that? Anyone? Raise your hand if you'd like. And if you don't want to, raise your hand. Okay, Elaine. Hi. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Gosh, I think I started about the same time you did and maybe a little bit before.
Yes. Oh, yeah, right. That's right. Yes. Actually, this is the woman I need to blame for the whole thing because she's the one that actually introduced me to it in 1980. And do you want to tell them that story or do you want me to tell it later?
You tell it.
All right. Well, you go ahead and talk a little bit about what your experience of the Course has been.
Okay. I started it, I had actually the first edition, I started in 79 and just was drawn into it and changed my life. I don't know what else to say about it. And then, of course, as you know, I got away from it. I think it was integrated for me in a lot of ways and moved on to other paths and came back to it full force.
Yeah.
I think it has more meaning now for me than it did even then. As much as meaning as it had then, it's gem after gem.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a diamond mine.
Totally.
Diamond mind. All right. Yeah. And yoga, you got into yoga a little bit there for a number of years, right? After the Course or during the Course?
I've been teaching yoga. I have my own yoga studio for about 20 plus years now. So
Awesome.
yeah, I do yoga about every day.
In
check it
Austin,
out.
in Austin,
In
Texas.
Austin, Texas. And if you ever get there, guys, come to Yoga for You. Love to see you, and we'll stretch and do some asana work and breathe.
Very good.
Maybe the most important part of it.
Yeah, yeah, that helps a lot.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
can
thank
tell
you.
the story unless you want to. You want to tell the story?
Yeah, I'll tell. It was kind of an interesting experience. When she first introduced me to the course, she handed me the book and said, you might be interested in this. Again, this is 1980. And I looked at it and I saw it was Christian. Close, not interested. I spent pretty much my whole life up until then rebelling and resisting against my youth upbringing with Christianity. And I wanted to get away from it at that time. So I wasn't that interested at the time. But then she was persistent, very persistent. And she kept bringing it up. Annoying. I didn't want to say that, but I'm glad you it was annoying.
Totally annoying.
Yeah, totally annoying. She kept giving it to me, kept giving it to me. And then finally I said, look, I'm not interested. Please don't ever talk to me about that book again. Just not interested. And that was it. I was very angry. I didn't want to hear it. And she took it very well. She said, okay, that's fine. And she was great. She never brought it up again. However, she did leave it around the house. And one day I was over and picked it up. And she was not there at that time. So I picked up the book and I'm looking at it going, Long story short, from that moment on, I saw something in the course that I'd never seen in Christianity. And that was the word forgiveness. I've heard it, but when I read it in the course, it had another meaning. It had some other much, much deeper meaning to me. So that's what got me onto the course, was learning to forgive. And that's what we're here today for, actually, is to use the material, some of the material of the course to learn. And it's a constant, for me, it's a constant learning process, how to forgive. Because it's sometimes it's not as straightforward as we'd like it to be, or easy as we'd like it to be. Well, anyway, thank you again for introducing it to me and being persistent and not giving up on me. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Anyone have any experience, thoughts about the course if you've read it or had any interaction with it? Feel free to speak up. And just go ahead and unmute yourself if you're muted. No? No one? That's okay. That's all right. So we're going to look at 3 steps of forgiveness today based on the Course in Miracles. And one of the things I've come to realize in my experience in the journey with the Course is that the Course teaches a different type of idea of forgiveness. It's not our normal traditional idea, at least the one I was raised in, which was based on, it was more of a, I'll forgive you if idea. Like if you're, if you don't do that again, or if you do that again, then I'll forgive you. But otherwise, if you keep doing that, I'm not going to forgive you. I'm just, I'm not going to forgive you for that ongoingly. So that was what I call conditional forgiveness. And I was raised in a situation where it was forgiveness and if you didn't behave after that, then, forgiveness kept getting harder, if at all. So the Course introduces an idea of what I call, or anyone could call, unconditional forgiveness. Now, I also add another term to it, which is radical forgiveness. It's not the everyday, ordinary forgiveness that we can think of when we think of forgiveness in life. It's a more radical idea, and we'll develop that a little bit just so we can work with these 3 steps. So, but I remember when I was a young child growing up in the Christian faith, I remember everyone knows this one, which is the golden rule. The golden rule. And the golden rule was do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That was one version of it. There's probably a couple versions, but basically that's the one I was raised on. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So yeah, that sounds good. But my question became, well, if I do unto others what I would have them do unto me, what if they don't do unto me the way I would have them do unto me? What happens then, right? So the course comes along and provides the answer to that. It provides the answer for me to that question. And I've dubbed it, we went from in the course, you go from the golden rule, which is still applicable, to the platinum rule. The platinum rule is in metals, platinum's even more valuable than gold. I mean, it's even more expensive than gold, if you can believe it. And it's not natural. They have to make platinum. It's not a natural occurrence on the earth. There's a process to make platinum out of. And this fits perfectly with the course's idea of forgiveness. And that is that the platinum rule is for the idea is that it's unconditional forgiveness, that we forgive people however many times. Now, I'll qualify this in a minute so you don't start freaking out in terms of, oh, I can't forgive forever. But it is unconditional forgiveness that we forgive everyone all the time. It's not when I feel like forgiving them or when I think I should forgive them or when I feel like I haven't forgiven them enough or something. It's constant. It's a constant process of forgiveness. And the reason for that is that we are dealing with, in the course, it deals with what's called the ego. Now, I'll make it very simple. The course is really simple what it means by the ego. Ego is that part of us that we experience as being separate from everyone else and everything else. So I'm a separate person here, sitting in a separate chair in a separate body, looking at separate people on the screen, and separate people are looking at me from the screen, and each of us have a different mind, different body, different clothes, different living situation. Everything's different, right? We're all different in that respect. And that's fine. That is not a problem. That's just the way this world works. We have different forms. So with the course, what it says is that we go, what I would say is a meta level above it. In other words, we rise above that level of the form differences, and we begin to see through the forms into what's really there. When we begin, again, this is based on the course and it's based on working with the course, because it's not normal. It's not normal what I'm describing. The normal life is the forms, and the differences. So the course teaches that internally, that part of you is the ultimate part of you, the self part of you, the deepest part of us, is the same with everyone. And this makes life very simple. This is the great thing about the course. It makes life very simple. The reason is because there's only really whatever everyone wants is the same. They're not different things. Now, on the surface, they're different things. You want to live in Austin, I want to live in Virginia. You want to live in California, I want to live in Utah. Everyone has differences. But underneath that, deeper than that, there is the one same want. And that is two parts. We all want to love, and we all want to be loved. That's it. At the core level, we're all looking for love, and we're all wanting to give love. When we experience that, we are happy. That is, for me, the definition of happiness in terms of the course: to love and be loved. What's the problem then? Well, here's how the course presents it. There are obstacles in our mind, not out there in the world, but in our mind. There are obstacles to experiencing that presence of love in our lives. And that the course comes along and shows us what the obstacles are and how to heal them, how to overcome them, how to transform them in a way. All right, so basically the course is built that way. It goes from the golden rule: if people treat me nice and I treat them nice, everything works fine. But what happens if I treat them nice and they don't treat me nice? Then we move into the platinum rule, which is where the course comes in. One of the first steps we're going to look at today, and then we'll have some questions, because I know there's always questions, a million questions I've had over the years and still have some questions. But the golden rule, we're going to move from that, where everyone behaves themselves and does what we want, or we do what they want and everything gets along fine, to the platinum rule, where people aren't always doing what we want or what we would like, or not doing what we would like. So we're going to move from that. And the first step is to recognize that there's been a change in the relationship. So we get along fine, everyone's doing fine. And then all of a sudden something occurs. We have an incident, we have a trigger, we have a reaction to something. I like the word reaction. If I react to something, that, and when I say react, I mean primarily, I mean a negative reaction. When I react to something, it's a sign that I have lost my connection to love, to well-being, to peace. Something's changed in my life or experience at that moment that has kind of come along and cut the cord from being full and complete to limited and lacking. And in that experience, I feel victimized. I feel like a victim. Something's been done to me that hurts and I don't like it. And then the automatic reaction, this is where the ego comes in. The ego, the separate self, the part of us that believes we're separate. We're not really separate, but there's a part of us that believes we're separate. That part clicks in immediately. There's not even a split second lapse. It's there telling us exactly how to handle it, what to do, what to think, how to deal with it. And normally, if it's the ego, it will tell us everything. The way the Course puts it is the ego speaks first, loudest, and it's always wrong. That voice that comes in when we're upset is always telling us, it's always the loudest voice, and it's always speaking first before anything else, and it's always wrong. So that's the first step. Catch that voice when it happens. If we don't catch it, it just takes us away. It's just automatic, just takes us down the road, and not a good place. Catch the reaction. Second step, and I'll go over these real quick and then we'll come back around to them. Second step is, once I've caught the reaction, what do I do about it? Well, this is where we exercise. This is why I call it the platinum rule, because you have to make this happen. It doesn't happen naturally with the ego. The ego doesn't want to go there. The ego does not want to forgive anything. And the best it can do is say, I'll forgive you if. I will forgive you if you don't do that again. I will forgive you if you behave better. That's the best the ego can do. So we're going beyond that part because we want to experience a deeper level of peace in our lives. At least I do. And I want to have the experience of unconditional love. I know what conditional love is like. I can experience that many times in my life, but the Course opens up the possibility and holds out the opportunity to experience unconditional love, which means nothing someone's doing or not doing affects me in terms of losing my peace. Might not like it, but it doesn't, I don't lose my peace over it. I might prefer something different, but I don't lose my peace over it. So the second part is what the Course calls the correction. This is the part where you step in. All right, the ego speaks first and loudest, and it's always wrong. So you can count on that. It'll always lead you in the wrong direction. The second step is where you and I step in our own mind. And that's where we apply the correction. So think of it like a math problem. So you notice you made an error. Something happened you didn't like. So let's call that, you added up some figures and it came out wrong. So that's the first step. You notice you've made a wrong, you've come up with a wrong figure, the wrong answer. So that's step one. Step two, you want to correct it. This is where we do the work. This is why it's platinum, because platinum doesn't exist until we make it. So the platinum part of it is we go inside, because normally the ego projects it out. I know projection, you may be familiar with that word, but basically it's like a projecting screen. You know, it's in our mind. The ego doesn't want to experience it here, doesn't want to be wrong, doesn't want to have the blame, it's whatever. So it puts it out there. It finds something out in the environment, in the world, that it can cast that blame onto. Now, I'm speaking very generally now. The course gets very, very specific about this, but in the time we have available, let's keep it simple as possible. So it casts out the blame. It doesn't want it here. I don't want to feel wrong. I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to feel like I'm the fault. I'm going to put it out there, someone else or something else. That's how the ego thinks it gets rid of it, by putting it out into the world. And it's funny because the truth is that whatever we put out, we get back. So it's not really getting rid of anything. It's actually increasing it. So if you reverse it and you see it from the eyes of love, whenever we give love, we experience more love in our lives by giving it, right? So the ego says, okay, don't listen to that guy. If you project this guilt out, you'll feel less guilt. No, it doesn't work that way. It's the opposite. If I project guilt out internally, I'm increasing my own guilt. I'm blaming someone else, that increases my guilt. So that's the second step. Now we notice that we made the error. Now we're going to correct it. What's the first thing you do when you correct it? Notice that you put it out there. We put it out there. Out there could be your own body, anything external to you, meaning the part of you that's non-physical, the being. To the being, the body's outside. So everything from the body out, it'll blame. So we catch that and we make a correction. And there's a beautiful line in the course that says, truth will correct all errors in my mind. Truth will correct all errors in my mind. And that's what we're aiming at here. We're aiming at correcting the errors. And the course gives 365 lessons devoted to how to correct the error in my mind. So what happens when I correct the error is I begin to feel better. When I stop blaming the world, and the second part the ego wants to do is to blame me now. If I stop blaming someone or something, then it has to have a target. The ego needs to have a bullseye, a scapegoat to put the blame on. So if I can't put it out there, guess what the ego is going to do? It's going to turn around and says, you're to blame. I'm the bad guy here. So either way, it gets its goal. It reaches its goal by putting the blame outside, either outside in the world or into my body as me. I'm the one to blame. All right, so now the correction. Truth will correct all errors in my mind. So the course gives, like I said, 365 lessons, one for each day of the year, that helps us find the truth, find what actually is happening here, and then begin to undo it. The course calls it undoing. It undoes the false perception of blame, of guilt. Nobody's guilty. Nobody's guilty. Now, that doesn't mean people don't do things, but we add the guilt. We add, and again, it doesn't mean you're not responsible or other people aren't responsible. That's another thing people get confused with. You're still, as a matter of fact, this is responsibility. This is the responsibility that takes us home, that takes us back to the truth. Without this level of responsibility, we can never get to the truth. The ego always plasters something over the truth, so we can't get there. So this, by looking in my mind, rather than out into the world and projecting it out there, I go to the source. The source of the issue, the source of the problem is in my mind. The source of the symptom, whatever it is, the world out there, including the body, is an effect of the source in my mind. So then when I project it out, first thing I want to do is to bring it back. So step one is to notice I'm projecting that I've become upset about something. Now bring it back for the correction. So I turned in the paper. I did a math problem. The teacher says, oh, mistake here. Do it again. All right, so we do it again. So we look at it again from another angle with the help of the course. With the help, in terms of the course is just a physical representation of our inner self. The higher self, the course calls it Holy Spirit. And that part of us knows the truth. It's not getting to the truth. It knows the truth. It doesn't have any doubt what the truth is. And the truth is that we see error in the world and try to fix it out there, which makes it even worse. So bring back the error to the source. Now we have source here, or cause here, effect out there. So the world is a mirror. It helps us see. It's like anytime you look in the mirror, you see whatever, the things you don't like, blemishes or whatever. It gives an accurate, if it's clean, it'll give an accurate reflection. So you can see what's in your mind. That's what the world is for, to help us see. Otherwise, if we just see it out there, we can't get back into what's really the source of the world. All right, second step, make the correction. So some of the corrections, here's a good one if you ever get lost in this. One of the first lessons, I think lesson 5, I'm never upset for the reason I think. Think about that for a while. I'm never upset for the reason I think. I think someone did it to me, right? I think I'm the victim. I think I got to change them. Somehow I got to get them to see the light. So that's the first step of the ego. Get rid of it, find it out there or in your body. So I'm never upset for the reason I think. That begins the process of questioning, like inquiring. Well, if it's not what I think it is, if I'm not upset for the reason I think, what am I upset about? And then the next lesson comes along, lesson 6, and says, I'm upset because I see something that is not there. Something that is not there. What's not there? Now, this is one of the punchlines of the course. What we see internally as an ego, as a separate self, what we see always internally at our thoughts and externally in the world is the past. The past. That's what we see. You look around your space, your environment, everything you see is the past. There's no present here in this world. There's no present to the ego. The ego doesn't have a present. As a matter of fact, it's always trying to make it even smaller than we experience it to be. So it doesn't want us to have a presence and a present, because if we have a present, that means we have time. Did you ever notice as the world gets more, what would you say, more sped up, things are happening faster and faster, history's going faster and faster. If you ever noticed that time is so precious now, it's like all these labor-saving devices we have, and we still don't have enough time. So the ego doesn't want us to have the time. You and I have to take the time back to be in a present. But even still, it's always going to be the past. We're always behind the event. Your perception cannot, the mind can't grasp the present. That's the way the Course puts it. The mind cannot grasp the present. It can only see the past. So everything that we get upset about is some form of the past. Now, can you change the past? Is there any point in losing our peace over something that happened in the past? Not that we don't, because of course we do. But if you think about it in a logical way, there's no reason to get upset over something in the past, except for the ego. And the ego wants to keep us stuck in the past. That's what the game of the ego. As long as we believe in the ego, we will be stuck in the past. It could be the past 5, milliseconds, or it could be 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. It doesn't matter. It'll be some form of the past. So the Course teaches us to let go of the past. I'm never upset for the reason I think. I'm upset because I see something that isn't there. I am upset because I see only the past. And the past is over. So now we can take back our power and not live in the past, but bring it back into the present and observe it, the reaction, the fear, the guilt, whatever it might be, the upset, the problem, because it's always going to be here and now in my mind. And if I address it in my mind, then it loses its power. It's undone. It can no longer control me. It can no longer be a power over me. So I've taken my power back. Leaving the past brings us back closer to the present. The Course says this moment, this now, the now we're in it right now, is the closest approximation to eternity this world holds. It's the closest approximation. This is the closest it gets until we, since today's Easter, let's say until we transcend, until we, what's the word I'm looking for? Not levitate. Anyway, rise up back into heaven. So that's just representative of raising our consciousness. Basically, that's what the whole idea is, that we raise our, sorry?
Resurrect?
Resurrection. Yeah, resurrection. The Course says that we don't resurrect the body. The body is just part of the world. What we resurrect is our mind. Yeah. That's what's gone to sleep. That's what needs to be awakened. And the way we awaken the mind is begin to get an idea of how to work with it. It calls it mind training. So we want to train the mind to pause whenever we get upset and begin to look in a different direction that the ego wants to take us. The ego wants to take us out there. So we turn it around and we start looking internally. What in me is causing this upset? I know it looks like it's out there, but I'm not going to be fooled anymore. I'm going to look back here and see where the source of the error is or the upset, and I'm going to correct it here at the source, not try to fix it out there. Just like you wouldn't if you're looking in a mirror and you see a black spot on your face or something like that, some ashes or dust or something. You don't try to rub it off the mirror. Go ahead, try. It doesn't work. It'll still be there when you stop rubbing it. You have to take it off at the source, and then it disappears in the mirror. So this is the same idea as the Course teaches. When we forgive, when we let go of the issue or the upset or the problem that we have made up in our mind, ultimately, when we can let go of that, it disappears. It goes away. That's the actual solution to the problem. Otherwise, we're out there always trying to fix the mirror, fix the screen, fix a movie screen is another great example. Projecting onto the screen and then trying to fix the people on in the movie and make them act differently. Well, I hope you've noticed it doesn't work. If you haven't, keep trying. It'll occur to you that doesn't work. I've tried many times. Even when you think you got them straightened out, they just look. So it's not out there. We don't have to fix anything out there. Beautiful. Imagine how much time and energy and money this can save you in your life when you begin to get this. You don't have to fix anything in the world. Now, you might find yourself fixing things, but you're not out there trying to fix things in the world that don't want to be fixed. So you are now going to the source of the world, which is your own mind, and you're working with it at that level. Now, step 3, and then we'll have some questions or ideas, thoughts, whatever. Once you've corrected it, once you've erased the wrong answer and you've corrected the problem. We think of it as a math problem. You had the wrong answer because you put some element in there that wasn't right. You corrected that. And then now you think it's correct. You give it to the teacher, right? You give it over to the teacher and you say, take it away. Is that right? And the teacher said, oh, perfect. Check 100%. And you go, oh, thank you. I'm done with that now. Same thing. Once we correct the error in our mind, then turn it over to your inner teacher. You can let go of it. It's like taking out the trash. If you live in the city, a lot of times when I lived in the city, I had to take out the trash and put it out at the curb, right? I take it out of my house, the mind, put it out on the curb where it belongs. Don't need it anymore. Can't use it. It's not necessary. I don't go back 5, 6, 10 times that night and make sure it's still there and make sure the next morning they come and pick it up and camp out there and make sure, I trust the garbage people are going to come by and pick it up. And 99 times out of 100, they will, There may be one time they don't, but let's say mostly they'll pick it up. And that's not and it doesn't require you to stay on top of them from the time you take the garbage out to the time they take it away. Same thing here, even more, because the Holy Spirit never fails. There's a never, that never fails us. So the moment we correct the error in our mind, we see how we did it. The Course gives us tons of ways to do this. It's not something we have to figure out ourselves. We can see it right there, tell you how to do that. Give it over to the Holy Spirit and let it go. Know that the Holy Spirit will take it away and that you don't have to do anything more about it. It will deal with it. It will transform your experience, and wherever else it's necessary. That's what the Course calls a miracle. This process, it's like when I grew up in Christianity, they said forgive, right? Forgive, you should forgive, but they never tell you how to do it. Or very little. It's like, if you really want to know how to forgive, you really have to work at it and find out who's writing about it. So it's not like the most obvious thing. You would think it would be the most obvious thing, but it's not in traditional Christianity. At least it wasn't from my side. So this tells us how exactly to forgive, and then exactly how to let go of the guilt and fear and anger and hostility and pain and sickness and illness and all that. It tells us exactly how to do it. And then we do that part. That's the first two steps. The third step, we don't do. We just give it up. We just let it go to the Holy Spirit, take it away. You transform it. You take the miracle wherever it belongs. We just totally give it to them. It's like the garbage people again. You don't get in the truck and try to direct them where to go next. You just trust they know where it's going to go, where it should go. So they take it away. And then you're done with it. Boom. And you're happy. Garbage is gone. I got a clean start next day. So this is a process, and the Course can help us with that process in a very deep way, so that we can keep correcting the errors in our mind and stop spending time, money, and energy correcting it out there. All right. So let me read one quote that kind of sums that up. And this is from the Course. It's in the textbook. It's if you want to note it for later. Text chapter 7, section 8, paragraph 5, sentence 5 and 6. Having accepted the errors as yours, do not keep them. So first we have to see we have the error, right? After you accept the errors as yours, we saw it wrong, we had misperception. Do not keep them. Do not keep the errors. Keep them, give them quickly over to the Holy Spirit to be undone completely, so that all their effects will vanish from your mind and from the sonship as a whole. This is the sonship as a whole, all beings. It disappears not only here, but out there. That's when you see the result out there too. It's not just here. You'll experience it in the world. Your world will change. Your world will change when you're successful at these 3 steps. And the Course has about 1,200 pages teaching us how to do that. And for me, it's life-saving. It's been life-saving for me. Okay, so questions, answers, comments? Okay, someone had, okay. Natalie, okay.
Oh, yes, hello.
Hi. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, thank you for the topic. It's a really, really great one.
Thank you.
So I have 2 questions, if I may. The first one is really, what is your definition of forgiveness? Because it could be seen from so many different perspectives.
Yeah.
And the second question is, I think it's related to the first one, because let's say someone important in our life does something to us that is very, very, very hurtful.
Yes.
But we know that the person is not doing it on purpose. They are just in a state of consciousness where they don't realize the gravity of the consequences of what they have done. So at least in my perspective, then there is really nothing to forgive, because even though they have caused us immense pain, but they don't realize it. So how can we forgive someone who doesn't even know that they're causing someone else so much pain?
Yeah.
So that goes back to the first question: what is forgiveness anyway? So would be elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, beautiful. There was a lot in that. There's a lot in that. At least 2 or 3 parts of it that could be developed much further. So number one, no one's ever doing anything to anyone else. That's one of the deepest teachings of the Course. People do things. We all do things all the time. And even we could even say sometimes people mean to do things that are mean, that are uh, uh, dangerous or hurtful. So it's not that we have even to judge whether they did it and meant it or not. See, this is where the Course takes all that away. It says people, uh, it's like this. You and I are exactly the same in certain respect. And that is this. You and I and the rest of us, we all are the same. We all have an ego. We all have a sense of separate self. It comes with the body. It's just part of the body that you have to protect the body with a separate self. That's how we survive in this world. We're all the same in that way. The second part the Course teaches is that we're all the same because we all have a mind that will enable us to choose whether or not to forgive. Whether or not to forgive. So sometimes we don't want to forgive. So you and I can choose whether to forgive or not. But if we choose it on the basis of someone else and their situation, whether they meant it or they didn't mean it, or see, that gets back into the conditional aspects of forgiveness. You're not forgiving them for them, you're forgiving them for you. Now, here's the beauty of it. When you forgive someone else, when you forgive yourself, you automatically forgive someone else. It's built in. It's it's the exact same thing. The moment we forgive ourselves, if there's someone else involved, we forgive them too. If it's real, if it's genuine, authentic forgiveness, unconditional forgiveness, then there's no separation. The connection between you and me is so clear that when I'm forgiven, you're forgiven. And when you're forgiven, I'm forgiven. It's like the Course says, giving and receiving are one in truth. You can't give without receiving. So if I give you forgiveness, I'm receiving forgiveness. If I forgive me, I'm giving forgiveness. You see how it works? It's all one connection. I can't give it without receiving it. I can't receive it without giving it. It's oneness. That's how we establish our oneness, is there's no difference there. So that's where we have to work on trying to determine whether someone meant something or how they meant it, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't matter. We're the ones that reacted. Now, if we continue to blame them, then we're just still in the same game. So you don't have to worry. See, this takes the burden of the world off your shoulders. It just gives us a different burden in a way. And the burden is, if you want to look at it that way, it's not really a burden, but it's our responsibility. And that we don't have to heal the world. We're not out there to do that. We don't have to go out and heal the world and change the world, make it a better place, et cetera. All we have to do is change our mind about the world. That's all that's necessary. Once we change our mind about the world begins to change itself. It issues from here out there, not out there to here. That's where the flow goes. It goes from inner to outer. So the moment we forgive here, things change out there. They may not change in that exact moment. It's not like, oh, I changed my mind about this person, now they're going to be different. It might be 10 years from now. It's not up to you anyway. You put the trash out at the curb, you left it. It's not your business anymore how they change or when they change. You're the one. You and I take responsibility. We're the ones that have to change. If there's going to be change in our lives, we don't have to change. This is not something that can be forced on us. This is only when we begin to suspect that this ego that I have in my mind telling me things is not my best friend. It's not really got my best interest in mind. It only has its survival in mind. That's all it has. What was the second? There was a second part to your question. Do you remember what it was, real quick?
Yes, of course. It's related to what is forgiveness anyway.
Yeah,
I
forgiveness.
understand that if we forgive ourselves, we
Yes,
automatically forgive the other person. That
automatically. Yeah,
that's a given. It's more. It goes back to the definition of forgiveness. Let's say we're not at the point where we can forgive ourselves. Is there even? I don't know how to put this. I'm trying. If someone does an action or non-action in this case that has very, very serious repercussions in someone's life, and I'm talking life and death. I mean, this is not just, oh, someone said something nasty. We're talking about death.
yeah,
So someone in the family does or does not something that then has a repercussion that is very serious.
right.
But we know that this person is not conscious of what they have done or their lack of action in this case. How can we, in good conscience, forgive, something like that?
Forgive them, right? How to forgive them? Why? How can we forgive them?
How can we forgive them? Because what would there for us to forgive ourselves?
Yes, yes,
What would I forgive myself about?
yes, yes. Perfect,
So
perfect,
I don't know
perfect.
if that makes sense. So it goes back to the what is forgiveness anyway, because it doesn't matter, even if it's something very grave in our mind, if there is no consciousness from the other part of what has been
Right.
done and the repercussions,
Yeah, yeah.
still forgive.
I hear
So
you. Okay, so again, we have very short amount of time to go into some very deep and profound areas, and that's one of them. But let's see if I can help with that. First of all, the Course never asks us to deny our experience. See, that's one of the things that people can misunderstand about the Course in Miracles. Actually, in most spiritual paths, there's the sense, well, I should forgive them, and I'm going to basically repress my feelings. I'm not going to have my feelings involved. So it doesn't ask us to do that. As a matter of fact, it's just the opposite. The Course wants us to experience our experience. It wants us to experience our feelings, our thoughts. By not experiencing is how the ego keeps us out of peace, because we put it away. We try not to deal with it. It's like a shoe and walking on a path. You ever take a walk on a sandy place or a dirt road or gravel road, and you get a little bit of a little thing in your shoe and you can feel it, but you want to get somewhere, so you're not going to worry about it too much. You're just going to keep moving. And then pretty soon after a while, it just gets worse and worse and worse. So this is what the ego does. And this is the thoughts that we get in our head about others and about ourselves and about the world, and we don't deal with them. And pretty soon they just get worse and worse, and pretty soon you're going to have to stop and deal with it. You got to take your shoe off and empty it out. So it's the same way with the Course. The Course teaches us to deal with it when it's a little pebble. Don't try to deal. You will deal with it later anyway if you don't do it, but why not deal with it when it's a little pebble? And that's what the Course says, basically, that there are no little upsets. There are no small upsets. Every single one of them disturbs our peace. So you have a big upset with someone or something. So number one, you don't deny your experience. You experience your experience. The Course calls it looking. We have to look at what the issue is in our mind. Now, we can see outside what the issue is, but that's not where it's going to be solved. We want to solve it. Why did I react? How come that bothers me so much? What is that mirror showing and reflecting back to me in my life that I've identified with? So it's identity. We identify with something and then we're threatened by it. Or in the other case, the opposite case, we're in love with it. The Course calls it special love, special hate. Special love is when we have someone or something in our life that makes us happy. They give us what we want. and it turns to special hate is when they stop. When they stop providing what we want or need. And then all of a sudden our feelings change about them. That's the conditional love. That's the conditional love. So the Course is teaching us unconditional forgiveness and unconditional love. It doesn't matter what they're doing or not doing. Yes, on the world level, things matter. But on the deeper level of where we're healing, they don't matter. All that matters is that we can learn to forgive them in ourselves, which then translates into forgiveness for them. Okay, I'm sorry I can't go deeper, but that's as much as I can do right now. Thank you. Yeah,
you.
thanks, Natalie. Thank you. All right, who else have a question or comment? Yes, okay,
Yeah, I have a question. I have a comment and then a question.
okay.
What did you learn by the fact that the hard sell of the Course didn't work, but you had to pass by the book in 1980 and see it and pick it up in the absence of any sort of encouragement? That's one comment or question. And the other thing is, what does the Course have to say about the present? I've got the understanding of the past, but what about the present? So those are my two questions.
Okay, so give me the question, first one first. Give me a question. What was the question again?
Well, what did you learn about yourself that you were attracted to the Course by the book lying there on the table, whatever it was in 1980, rather than the woman actually trying to, sell you on the Course?
Yeah. What attracted to me was the book itself. That was the first thing. It was such a beautiful book. It was hard to keep my eyes off them. They're back then they were hardbound, and they were blue and gold. So they were beautiful books. I mean, they were just gorgeous. And I don't know, it's like something in when there's no one around that can see you doing something, I'm like, well, okay, let me look at these again. I'll look through them. So there was curiosity. There was something I was curious about them. Why was she so strong about this? What did she really see in this stuff? So, okay, maybe I'll just look and see. She's not here, so I won't, she won't see me looking. So I just curiosity at that point. And then when I saw the word forgiveness and I read the line, I don't remember specifically what the line was, but all of a sudden it hit me like a ton of bricks. This is teaching me how to forgive. That's what this is. So when I got that, then I started really taking it to heart. Yeah. And then the second question?
The present. What do you mean? What does the Course mean by the present? Could you just expand that a little bit? You said a lot about the past, but what about the present?
Okay, so first of all, the Course says there is no past. The Course says there's no future. That's all made up. It's a projection. We project the past, we project the future. They aren't here. You and I are locked. You know how people say, come into the now, stay in the now. You can't get out of the now. Have you ever thought of that? Do you ever think you can move out of the now? You can't. It's ridiculous to even think that you could. You're always in now, right? This is what this is. This is now stuff. This is the now. This is the closest we get to it. We don't get any closer. So you don't ever have to worry about being out of the now. You just have to remember you're in it. That's all there is to it. You're in the now all the time. Your body keeps you anchored now. You can't have a body tomorrow and one last week. You got the body now and now and now. It's always the now. So the Course says, once we realize that we're always in the now, all there is the now at this level, then we can start getting a taste of eternity. That's the taste of eternity, because the moment you came in from birth, you've always been in the now, and you will be all the way through until the last day. We'll be in the now. There's no out of it. So we're always now. It's always now. The mind can go out of it. The mind can project into the past, last week, last month, last year. It can project into the future, but it's just projecting. You're not there. You're making it up. We make it up. So now is the only time that we can change our mind. That's the importance of now in terms of the Course. It's the only time we can change our mind. It's the only opportunity we have to forgive is now. We can't forgive yesterday. we can't go back into yesterday and forgive something. We can't go into the future and forgive it. We can only forgive it now. That's why now is so precious and why it's important to remember we're always now. We always have the opportunity to forgive now. May something happen yesterday, it may happen tomorrow, who knows, but we can forgive now. We don't have to wait till tomorrow, and we didn't lose the opportunity because it's not yesterday. We have the chance to forgive always, now, unconditionally. And that is a process. I'm not saying this is a pill you take and you'll have it. You've got, instant relief from never judging again. Doesn't work that way. I wish it did. There is some work, our part. We have to do our part. But once we do our part, the rest is provided. Everything else is provided. Okay, I think we've hit our time limit. Is there one last question real quick? Anyone? Okay.
Sherry, yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
Sherry? You've got a
Oh,
question?
yes. Thank you. Yeah, I put it in the chat. I think I heard you say the mind can't grasp the now. So
Yes.
if that's true, then when we're in the now, are we working with something beyond mind?
Yes, you're always in the now, but your mind is always going somewhere else. So that's where you make the distinction between you and your mind. If you can go tomorrow to tomorrow, that's your mind. If you can go to the past, that's your mind. That's the only part of us that needs to be healed. You don't need to be healed. So there's like two parts of us. The part that has, it's called the ego, that has very strict parameters of what we can experience. Anything that goes outside of those parameters, it gets upset. So it wants to keep everything in this tight box, and that's okay to experience. You're comfortable there. But the moment you step outside or something happens outside that box, watch out. There's a lot of problem there.
So the
there's
mind
that-
is part of the ego, is what you're saying?
Yes. The mind associates itself with the ego, right?
Okay.
Just like the body mind associates with the separate self. So, or identifies with the separate self more than associates. But there's another part of you. There's another part of us can experience anything. It doesn't have any boundaries on experience. It wants it all. Anything, just give it to me. I want to experience. Oh yeah, I want to see outside the box. So what? I want to experience that. I want to experience that. Thank God we have that part. Because
And does that have a name in the system? Is that like consciousness, or what is the name for
consciousness?
that?
Yeah, your being, your true self. The true self has no limits on experience. It's
Okay.
here to experience. It wants all experiences. There's no outside the box for the being, for the self. It wants them all. It loves all experiences. And that's our saving grace, because that part of us is the part that can forgive. The ego can't forgive. It's like this box that stays in there. If something goes out, I'm not forgiving that one. That's way outside the box. I'm not forgiving that. The being goes, give me more. I want more of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So that's our saving grace, that we got the being that wants all experiences. It learns from every experience. It has no limits on what it will be willing to experience. And that's really you, not the ego. Okay, we started a little late. We're ending a little late. But it's always now, right? So,
Hey, Bharata, may I hold my copy up?
oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yep, the gold letters.
Hi, Sam.
Hi,
Yeah,
Bharata.
it's beautiful. Sam is a Lafa yogi as well as counselor and spiritual teacher. All right, so okay, I think we better close it up, end it up. Thank you all for joining us on this beautiful Easter day. I hope it's beautiful. Looks like it's beautiful there. Let's see, with the trees in the back, with the hat. What is it? Jess. Looks really beautiful there. And it's beautiful here in Yogaville today, so we really lucked out. So happy Easter. The resurrection, not the body. The body comes and goes. The mind awakes. That's what we're here for. We're here to awaken the mind, and the Course does a beautiful job of it. Can help us tremendously with that effort. All right, so thank you, and God bless. Have a wonderful rest of the Easter, and hopefully we'll see you maybe next time, next Easter. Who knows? All right.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Good
Pleasure.
seeing you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care. Bye, Elaine.
Bye. That was awesome. We're alone, right? I think. Yeah. That
More or
was
less.
more or less.